Shalom and Boker Tov, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. This is Rabbi Shapira from Ahavat Ammi Ministries and Yeshivat Shuvu. As I often like to do right before the Shabbat, as we're getting ready for the Shabbat, I would like to give you a very brief word from the Torah portion this week. We are starting a new book. We are in Book of Shmot, Parashat Shmot. These are the names, and I want to invite you to get the detailed teachings on Parashat Shmot on our YouTube channel. Every week we are highlighting a new pearls of the Torah right there on Parashat Shmot for a detailed lesson. And this week I like to dedicate this teaching, this brief Dvar Torah for my boy, Noach ben Yitzchak, for Refuah Shlema. May Hashem send him Refuah Shlema to him, Refuat HaGuf, Refuat HaNefesh, and the Refuah and all the things in the mighty name of Yeshua. Thank you for your prayers. This week in Parashat Shmot, in the book of Exodus, we are reading about the birth and the coming to the world of Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, our rabbi. Now we need to understand that Chazal make a very distinct parallel between Moshe, as they call him in Jewish literature, the Goel Rishon, the first Goel, to the last Goel, Messiah righteous, Yeshua, the Mashiach of Israel. And they call him in Jewish literature Goel Acharon, or sometimes you see the terms Goel Sheni. Now when we look at the compare and contrast between the Mashiach and Moshe, there's a different discussions in various Jewish sources who is greater, Moshe or the Mashiach. I like to deal with this and also with the connection between Isaiah chapter 53 to this Torah portion. You might ask the question, what is the connection between Yeshayahu 53, Hine yaskil avdi yarum v'nisa v'gavav me'od, behold, my servant will prosper, will be lifted, and will be very high, to this Torah portion. I want to focus with you today on one verse alone. This is not entitled to be an exhaustive study of the entire Torah portion. It's impossible. But if you look at the fine details, you're going to find the Mashiach in every word in the Torah portion. Today we're going to learn a little bit of Chassidut inside the Torah, understand the age, the Acharit Hayamim, the time we're in. So if you have your Tanachim, your Bibles, turn it to Parashat Shmot. I also appreciate if you hit the share and the like, so others will be able to enjoy this study that I call, Are You the Donkey Driver? Are You the Donkey Rider? I should start the discussion with, should tell you that one of the names of the Mashiach in Judaism, according to the Zohar, one of the names of the Mashiach is the donkey driver. As a matter of fact, there is a story that is told us in the Zohar of a man that is outside this kingdom. And as he's outside the kingdom, men run into him and they ask him, what is your name? Because they recognize him as the son. They call him the son in the story. They're calling him the Mashiach in the story. And he says, no, I would like to tell you who I am. They ask him, what's the name? They want to bow down and kiss him. And he said in the story that his name is the donkey driver, and he's away from his kingdom. And of course, that is a picture of the Mashiach. The question is, why the Mashiach is known by the name the donkey driver? What is the meaning behind this? And what can we learn about this? We have to understand that the book of the Tanya, which is the foundational book of what we know as Hasidic Judaism, says the following. It's, if you want, it's chapter 36 in the Tanya. It says, and I quote, Tachlit Briat HaOlam, the essence of creation, Tiyeh Leyemot HaMashiach. Okay? The essence of the Torah is to tell us about the Geulah, about the Mashiach, and about the days of the Mashiach. Okay? So when we look at the story of Exodus, specifically the story of Exodus, we need to understand that the story of Exodus come to explain to us about Yemei HaMashiach, right? And matter of fact, when we talk about the 4 exiles, the 4 galuyot of Israel that Israel have to go through, you know, Babel, Paras, Greek, and ultimately Edom, we understand that the holistic name for all the galuyot together, they're known by the name Galut Mitzrayim. So when we're talking about exile, and we put all the exile together, they're known by the name Galut Mitzrayim. So when we still read the story of Exodus, really there is no greater story that will show us and to reveal to us the Mashiach than the story of Galut Mitzrayim. We need to understand that the story of redemption of Egypt. Now, when we're talking about this passage in the Tanya, it's given us a formula for Geulah. And you will understand this now very clearly when I conclude this study. And it says this, it says in the Tanya, talking about the day of Mashiach, it says, שאז יזדכך גשמיות הגוף והעולם יוכלו לקבל גילוי אור אדוני. What does it mean? שאז יזדכך גשמיות. When the things in the physical world, when the goof represent the physical things, will be able to receive the light, then the revelation of the light will come. This is important to understand. The Judaism viewed the idea of a coming of a Mashiach in such a way that before we can receive Mashiach, we have to be waiting and ready to receive Mashiach. Are you following what I'm telling you? In essence, we have to have an immigration center of some sort to be able to receive the light of Mashiach. Because the light is such a great light, and we need to be prepared to receive the light, and that's called in Hebrew the vessel, the tikkun of the vessel. In the New Testament, we call it the preparation of the bride. There's a lot of names for that, but it's in the core of it is a Jewish concept of the preparation to Giluyo. Even when we talk about Mashiach, why do we need the Mashiach? What's the purpose behind Mashiach? The purpose behind Mashiach is to receive the ultimate light, the Idgalut, the revelation of God, we call it in Hebrew the Elokut, that will reveal itself in everything. Bayom ha'u yeh Adonai echad u'shmo echad. In that day, the Lord will be one, and His name will be one. That's why it says in the book of Iyov, okay, it's a very interesting passage in the book of Iyov, chapter 11, verse 12, he said, Ir pere Adam yivaled. What does it mean? In a chaos, a man will be born. Chazal explained this verse, that the goal today is to explain and prepare for our neshamot in such a way, although we are dealing with the fleshly things, we're dealing with the goof, but preparing the goof in such a way that we can receive the light. In essence, if we can overcome the goof, if we can overcome the Yetzer Hara, if we can beautify the externality and shell the klipa. You heard me talk a lot about the klipot of the Mashiach. Today, Chazal says the Mashiach is hidden inside of a klipa, and the klipa, of course, in Judaism called the klipa of Rome, the klipa of Edom, the klipa of Christianity. That's why Messiah sits at the gate of Rome. So we've given you a lot of teachings about this in the past. We need to understand that there's another layer of klipot. And I'm not talking about the klipot of Mashiach now. I'm talking about our own klipot. Each one of us is dealing with a klipot, okay? It's a reality. We all have inside of us Yaakov and Esav, and we're battling it out. Judaism teaches, Chassidut teaches, that when we corporately and individually, the concept of personal salvation does exist in Judaism, but when a person sanctifies himself through Torah, through mitzvot, in essence, he prepares himself so he's a mini vessel that will be able to receive the light. And the idea of Judaism, that's where we get the idea of Tikkun Olam, that if one completely, all of us, each and every one of us, go to a Tikkun, and we fix ourselves, and we prepare ourselves, that means that each one of us have a vessel that is ready to receive the light. Ultimately, if enough vessels ready to receive the light, guess what will happen? The light will come, and we will be able to receive the ultimate revelation, which is Mashiach, our righteousness. How do we do it? How do we become a vessel that prepare itself to receive the light? Judaism speaks about three elements, three parts that each one and every one of us will have to do, will take part of to prepare ourselves to the vessel. Remember, the entire story of Shmot is really in the macro level, the preparation of the house of Israel for the light. What's happened in Exodus 20, Parasha Yitro, the Ten Commandments, Mashiach, God marrying Israel, is a preparation for the things to come. It's a process. So really we need to pay attention very carefully to the book of Exodus chapter 1 all the way to Exodus chapter 20 when the Torah is given. There are some steps we have to take individually and corporately. And those who are joining now, please feel free to share these studies. This is just a brief brief Dvar Torah for this Parashat Shavua. So how do we prepare our individual lens to be able to receive the light of Mashiach? Judaism speaks about two initial steps, kind of in a steps. The first one, it's called Achna'ah, and the second one is called Bitul. In essence, if the world is filled with a klipot that not allowing us to see Mashiach today, each one of us individually have to remove those klipot, and we're doing it by individually going through a process called Achna'ah. Achna'ah is what we call in English truly surrounding ourselves for the Lord. It's mean just as the Malachei Sharet, for example, when we pray every day, the Kedusha in the Shmona Esrei, and we say Nekadesh et Shimcha b'marom, Keshem shemakdishim oto. You know, we are going to sanctify him as they sanctify him in heaven. Why? Because we're saying this, because the Malachei Sharet, they have no will of their own. They are in complete state of Achna'ah. They are just following God to the T. They do exactly what God is doing. We want to learn from the Malachim. What does it mean to have Achna'ah? It means you have no will of your own. That's why even in the Brit HaChadashah, you see Shaul starting his letters, and he says, he is the Eved Elohim, Eved Yeshua Mashiach, bond servant to Mashiach. What does that mean? It means that he went through a process that is called Achna'ah. Process of Kol Achna'ah is not an easy process because it means that we have to truly surround ourselves to the mighty one of Israel. You want to notice that Moshe Rabbeinu have to go through the same thing. He had to go to Achna'ah himself. He have to first surround himself to the Lord. Before a Geulah can come, he have to surround himself to the Lord. Before a Geulah Pratit will come, a personal Geulah will come to each and every one of us. Each and every one of us have to truly surround our will to the mighty one of Israel. The second is a little bit more difficult. You can surrender yourself, but it doesn't mean that you change your nature. The Judaism teaches that it's very difficult, even impossible, to change the nature, but what you can do, you can go through what is called a bitul. Bitul is the second process. Bitul means that you nullify truly your will. And Moshe Rabbeinu definitely nullified his will. In the story of Exodus, I encourage you to read carefully the first 6 or 7 chapters of Bereshit, all the way to the end of Vayera, and you notice how Moshe Rabbeinu went through Achnaa, and how Moshe Rabbeinu went through Bitul. Very, very important principles that we have to understand. Why? Because those things are going to lift the chomriut from the world, the chomer, the flesh of the world. Judaism teach only when the flesh, which is the klipa, removed, then the light will shine. Are you following what I'm telling you? So each and every one of us have to do it on the micro level in order for it to go to the macro level. Now, the third principle that is important, once a person goes through Achnaa and Bitul, then he can become and go through what's called a zikuch shemen, purification of the oil, for example. That means that now the vessel represents each and every one of us, is ready to contain the heavenly spark, the light of God, the light of Mashiach, and now we can contain inside of that and retain, because the vessel has been made perfected. All of these things in general called in Hebrew tikkun hakli, the fixing of the vessel. So before a person can do a tikkun olam, he truly needs to do a tikkun nefesh, and he needs to make sure that he himself is a metukan and he is ready to receive it. Now that we understand this, we need to understand where Mashiach taking part of this, and what does that have to do with the Torah portion. In the end of the portion this week, we read a very interesting verse that you probably read before a million times, did not really think about it. It's in Exodus 4, and it says in Exodus 4, verse 20, ויקח משה את אשתו ואת בניו, וירכיבם על החמור, וישב ארצה מצרים, ויקח משה את מטה אלוקים בידו. So Moses took his wife, he took his son, mounted them upon the donkey, and he returned to the land of Egypt, and Moses took the staff of God in his hand. Very, very, very interesting passage. And there are a few questions you need to ask yourself, looking carefully at the Hebrew language. Remember that the Holy Tongue, Lashon Kodesh, does not give us anything ambiguous. It does not add a letter for no reason. First question you need to ask yourself, why the word chamor, which is a donkey, misspelled? In the Hebrew Holy Tongue, the word chamor is actually, should have a vav. The vav is missing, and it's actually spelled chet mem resh, a chamar, chamar. In a second, we'll understand why. The second question we have to ask ourselves is, why did he put them on one donkey? Why didn't he put them on a horse? Why not several donkeys? Why everybody had to be on a donkey? Okay? Very, very, very important question. Question number 3, what this has to do with the Mashiach? Does it have something to do with the Mashiach? As I explained to you before, that the Geulah Rishona is like the last Geulah. The answer is already yes. We're going to understand in a second what. And then question number 3, that you want to ask yourself, why did the text says Achamo, the donkey? What is not enough to say Al Chamor? Why did Chazal want to tell us that he's talking about Achamo? First and foremost, to answer the question, we need to understand. Velo kam navi b'Yisrael ke Moshe. This is prophecy. What we read here is prophecy. And as I teach you before, prophecy is cyclical, And Chazal come and tell us something very interesting. They say that the donkey that he's talking about here in the text is actually a donkey that appeared before. Now, it's very interesting. How can a donkey live for 1,000 years or more than 1,000 years? This is a question we have to ask ourselves. But they said the following, and Rashi make a very, very interesting point. I elaborate on that in the Return of the Kosher Pig. But to give you the nugget here, it says, Rashi asks, he says, Chamor miyuchad. What is in Chamor miyuchad? It is a unique donkey, a designated donkey. And then he said, Hu chamor shechavash Avraham la'akedat Yitzchak. He says that this is the donkey that Abraham saddled in the binding of Isaac. Are you following what I'm telling you? Chazal says that when we read in Genesis chapter 22 about the saddling of the donkey of Avraham Avinu as he going up Mount Moriah, it's the same donkey. Chazal says that. Now, Rashi continue, he's not stopping there, and he says, והוא שעתיד מלך משיח להיגלות אליו, שנאמר, אני ורוכב על חמור. Translated to as following. And that is the same one that the King Messiah is destined to appear, as it is say, quoting of Zechariah chapter 9, verse 9, talking about Mashiach, humble, riding upon a donkey. Remember that I told you before that the Holy Zohar tell us that the Mashiach is called the donkey driver. Now we understand why. Chazal said that the same donkey that Avraham Avinu ridden or saddled on the way up to Mount Moriah is the same donkey that appeared here in Exodus chapter 4, verse 20, and is the same donkey of the book of Zechariah, chapter 9, verse 9. Now we need to understand what is the connection here. This is an important connection. We are talking about three different covenants: the Abrahamic covenant, the Mosaic covenant, and the new covenant with King Mashiach. Chazal saying that those three covenants are represent a single covenant that have an essence. There is a point behind a covenant. And the question you need to ask yourself, what is the point? Why God give covenants? Why God give covenant? At the end of the day, why do we need covenants? And the reason we need covenants, all the covenants, and that's why Rabbi Kook, may his memory be blessed, says that we cannot look at the Abrahamic covenant and the new covenant and say that there are different covenants. He says, no, all covenants are one continual. It's one continual covenant. Now you understand why. Because the way you should understand a covenant is all the covenants come to really prepare us for the Hitgalut of the light. Remember what I explained to you from the Tanya, that all the covenants come for revelation of the light at the end of the day. So there is a preparation of the vessel. Preparation level 1 is the Abrahamic covenant. Preparation level 2 is the Mosaic covenant, and the preparation of level 3 is the covenants that will be made with Mashiach. Each one, it's almost like the best way to think about it is when you build a house. You don't put the sheetrock right away. First, you put the boards, then you cover the boards, then you put the walls, and then you put the external walls, right? Is it still one house? Yes, it's the same one house, but each step has to be taken in order for this house to be complete, okay? And what is the completion of the house is the revelation. Remember what I explained to you a minute ago. I explained to you that the reason we cannot experience the revelation today, there's a reason for that, because the world is covered with klipot, like a dirt. It's a dirt that covering the world. This dirt that is covering the world has a name. It is called, in Hebrew, the flesh. It's called the goof. Now, remember I asked the question a moment ago, why did the word donkey has been misspelled? Why does it say chamor without the vav? Chazal explained to us that Chamor is rooted in the word Chomer. Chomer, which is the shorish of the word Chamor, is the word Chomer. It is found right here in the Torah, clearly without the Vav. And the Chomer is the Klippa. Chomer represent the guf. Chomer represent the flesh. Okay? It's representing the reason why the world is not ready today for the coming of the Mashiach. There is a reason we cannot experience God in 3D. Why? Because we are right now, we have our guf, and we are bound, and we are constrained by the guf. Are you following what I'm telling you? We'll have a constraint, and the entire thing for us is to prepare the chomer, to prepare the guf right now for the reception of Mashiach. In essence, what I'm saying to you in plain English is each and every one of us have a job to do to prepare our vessel, which is more than a guf, to the coming of the Mashiach. Each and every one of us represent a center, a reception center, immigration center for Mashiach to come to dwell in us. Okay? All of Israel have this responsibility on the task. And only when we are ready, only then the ultimate light will come to the world. Chazal explained to us, our sages says, that Avraham Avinu and Moshe, neither one of them rode upon a donkey. The only one who is the donkey rider is the one who mentioned in Zechariah chapter 9, verse 9. One who is not constrained by the guf. Who is it? It's the Mashiach. And that's what the rabbi said, the Mashiach is greater than Moshe Rabbeinu. Anybody who wants to argue this point doesn't know Judaism. Mashiach is greater than Moshe Rabbeinu in that respect, because Moses could not ride the donkey. Okay, he did not ride the donkey. He sent away his wife and children on the donkey, but he didn't ride the donkey himself. He couldn't. Avraham Avinu didn't ride the donkey. And matter of fact, it says in Exodus 4:22, Vayashkem Avraham baboker, and Abraham rose in the morning, and he saddled his donkey, and he took 2 young men with him, right? And it's interesting, who is the 2 young men he took with him? It was, according to Jewish understanding, it was Ishmael. And it was Eliezer for a burnt offering. And he rose and went to place which God told him. Now, I need you to understand something. The Messiah is the only one that can ultimately cover the Chomer. That's why in Tractate Sukkah 52, we learn that the Mashiach will be the one who overcome the donkey, and he's to overcome what's called the evil inclination. And in this day, when Mashiach comes, there will not be any more Yetzer Hara. Can you imagine a day? No more evil inclination, none whatsoever. It's been slaughtered. Only the thing in the world will be goodness. It's going to be a great time in human history when Mashiach comes and does this. Now, the question we need to ask ourselves, if it is true, is the Mashiach is the donkey rider, if we understand that the Chomer, the Chamor, represent the evil inclination, the Yetzer Hara, that found in each and every one of us, the question that we need to ask ourselves, and only Mashiach can overcome him, we need to ask ourselves, what can we do today? If we need to prepare our vessel, how can we do it? What can we do today? Now, I'm coming back to my earlier point about Achna'ah, surrender, bitul, nullification, and zikuch, purifying the vessel. Those 3 things represent the 3 covenants. Do we need to enter into a new covenant today with the Messiah of Israel? The answer is absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. I want you to notice with me what Chassidut teaching us. They say, let's now understand that this is the 3 stages of Geulah. The Abrahamic covenant is the first stage of Geulah. The Mosaic covenant is the second stage of Geulah. And the new covenant is the third stage of Geulah. But all 3 steps are necessary. In the new covenant, it says that nobody can come to the new covenant unless they enter into Abrahamic covenant. Now I will explain this to you so that you will understand this. Okay? It says in in Genesis, where we met the donkey for the first time, in Genesis 22, notice the language that the Torah used. It says, Vayishakem Avraham. He wake up in the morning, Baboker, and it says, Vayachavosh et Chamoro. Remember what the Chamor represents. The Chamor represents the klipa that is surrounding the world. Okay? It's the vessel that's stopping the light from being shining today in the world. It's what's stopping the Geula, this donkey. And look what it says. It says that Abraham, it's used the word chavisha. The word chavisha, okay, is talking about the surrounder to the of the chomer. In essence, the very first thing a person has to do, he has to come and say, I am overcoming the chomer. I am overcoming the Yetzer Hara. This is the very, very first time. And the only way Chazal said a person can do it, it's through a covenant of faith. If one wants to overcome the Yetzer Hara, Chazal says, it starts by faith. It starts with Avraham Avinu. It's not start with the Torah. It starts with Avraham Avinu. So when you say Chavishat Achamor, it is talking about the fact that you contain the Yetzer Hara. First thing you do, you contain the Yetzer Hara, you put it in a box. Okay, Chavisha. You know, when you take a horse, what do? You tame a horse, right? You have to tame a horse. The very first thing we have to do is to tame the Yetzer Hara. And how you tame it is, you said, you're in a corner. That's why we have so many laws in Judaism around Shmirat Lashon, Shmirat Negiah, okay, Kedusha, the way Shmirat Ayin, you know, all of those things. Why? In the book of Yaakov, James, he says, nobody can control the tongue, but you can tame the tongue. What does that mean? That's talking about this concept here of Chavisha. When we're taking a wild animal and you're domesticating him, you are starting to get him ready. You following what I'm telling you? The Satan is like a roaring lion. The very first thing you have to do is to tame it. First things you need to do is to tame yourself. What do? You put boundaries. Chazal tell us in Pirkei Avot, chapter 1, verse 6, לעשות סייג לתורה. To put a fence around the Torah. Why do we need Torah to begin with? We need Torah so that we have a clean boundaries, okay? Torah is not going to solve our problem, but Torah will give us at least a boundaries that we will be able to say, whoops, I'm overstepping this boundary. Are you following what I'm telling you? Torah is not the solution, but Torah is a step in the solution. And here Chazal says that the entire idea of overcoming the donkey within us, which is needed for the Geula, is start first with Chavishat HaChamor, Achna'at HaChomer. How many of us live our life according to the goof? It's not easy, because Shaul speaks so much about the flesh, about Achna'at HaGuf, right? And you notice what he said. He said, we can overcome the goof. We can do this. But it's not easy. It is not easy to overcome the goof. Then it starts with emunah. If you want to overcome the goof today, to prepare yourself as a vessel, first thing you have to say, I believe in perfect faith. That through the Abrahamic covenant, through the merit of Avraham Avinu, a covenant of faith, I am going to tame Hasatan in my life. Are you following what I'm telling you? That's step number one. But this is not enough. We're going to Achna'ah, we're going to the Bitul. Now we need somebody to come and purify what's going on into us. You follow what I'm telling you? The Abrahamic covenant is a covenant that generates a vessel that still need whatever to go to it to be purified. This is important. A lot of people have a vessel, but the things that go inside the vessel, although the vessel is metukan, they have a faith in Yeshua, and they believe in Mashiach, they still do not have the right stuff going inside of them. Chazal call this second stage, they call it zikuch. Zikuch. The word lezaker, it means to purify something, right? To purify something. We need the fuel and the ammunition to overcome the chomer, the chamor, as we're reading here in the Torah portion. So how do we do this? For this, we have a second covenant. The second covenant is called Torah. Torah and mitzvot is the way that Am Israel, it says that Israel went to the fire in the wilderness, that they came white as gold. That's what it's getting. White, but they went through the fire. And that's called in Hebrew shibud. It's not easy. Okay? Israel go through fires in order to become a perfect tool to contain the Kedusha. Are you following what I'm telling you? The second thing we need before we can receive the light is we need to be molded now into the right vessel. It is not enough that we tame Hasatan. Now we have to be molded. And that's what we call the Mosaic Covenant. That is the purpose of the Mosaic Covenant. In essence, what I'm saying in a simple language is this. If one does mitzvot leshma, as it says in Tractate Ta'anit, chapter 7, Aleph, Amud Sheva Aleph, if one does the mitzvot leshma, Torah leshma, it would lead for his vessel to be complete. The only reason to do mitzvot and Torah is not for salvation, but to mold ourselves so we are ready to receive the light of Mashiach. You following what I'm telling you? It's still not enough to overcome the chamor, but it's getting us ready. Okay, it's getting us ready. Now we are talking a lot about this concept of engraftment. What does it mean to be engrafted? I want you to notice the language of the Holy Torah here, this Shabbat. In the Holy Torah, it says, Moshe Rabbeinu says here, Vayarkivem al achamor, or Vayarkivem al achomer. The word yarkiv or harkav, it's come from the word harkava. Okay, not just rechiva, which is riding, but it's also rooted in the word harkava. The word harkava, le'arkiv, means that we are engraft ourselves. In essence, when we go through this process, okay, of achna'ah, and then after achna'ah, we go to bitul and achna'ah, and then zikor, we are engrafted ourselves. In essence, every person needs to be engrafting. All of us need to go through a process of engrafting, and the only way a person can go through engrafting is through the covenants of Israel. If a person is not in the covenants, he cannot be engrafted to anything. Are you following what I'm telling you? That's why we need the Torah, because it's a process of engrafting, being engrafted to the mighty one of Israel. Now, when we get to the third chamor, it says here that is ani, Mashiach is ani, rochev al chamor. Now, Yeshua gives his Talmidim a very important message, okay? He says to them, behold, I give you shalom, and I overcome the world. What did it mean when Yeshua said, I give you shalom, I overcome the world? He says that because he is the donkey driver, and he is the donkey rider, he gives us the potential, that's the message of Mashiach, to, in essence, to get to the level, to the dargah, that we can receive the light. Are you following what I'm telling you? We can overcome the goof, we can do the mitzvot in fullness, we can walk into the Brit Avraham in perfection, to the point that we can receive the light of Mashiach, or to be ready to receive the light of Mashiach. In essence, he said that the process of purification can be complete through the Messiah. But what Yeshua doesn't say, he doesn't say that you can go through all of those things and bypass Avraham Avinu and bypass Moshe Rabbeinu. Chas v'chalila. That's not what he says. And matter of fact, even the word chamor in Hebrew, if you look at that gematria, chet mem resh, it's equal Avraham. One cannot come to Mashiach without first entering into Avraham Avinu. One cannot have a vessel purified without Moshe Rabbeinu. Are you following what I'm telling you? We need all the mitzvot together to work in harmony in order to be ready to receive the ultimate itgalut, the itgalut of Mashiach Tzidkenu, to get ready to receive the light into the world. What I'm suggesting to you, and I realize this study is not easy. It's a deep study. I understand it. But Chazal says that during the time of Avraham Avinu, yes, it is true that during the time of Avraham Avinu, Avraham came to the world, brought the world out of paganism, in essence, and people were walking into v'nivrechu becha kol mishpachot adama. Through you, all the family of the earth shall be engrafted. He started the process, but he could not finish the process. So Moshe Rabbeinu come and turn the page over. The same page to prepare the world to overcome the donkey, prepare each one of us to overcome the donkey and to prepare for the Itgalut. So Moshe give us a way to start fueling ourselves with the right stuff. Each time you do a mitzvah and you fulfill a mitzvah, sometimes to do a mitzvah, not so easy. Okay, please understand something. Yesterday I was going to do a mitzvah on the freeway to take things to charity. As I'm going to charity, 70 miles an hour, a car crashed into me, totaled my car. Guess what? I say Baruch Hashem. I still was able to fulfill the mitzvah, even with the broken car, to do the mitzvah. The mitzvot are not easy. But Moshe Rabbeinu said they're not in the heaven, they're not over the seas, they're right here b'kirbechem. They're right here next. If you want to fulfill mitzvah, it's mean that you want the light. Really, if you really want to fulfill mitzvah, and I tell you today, you have to go through perseverance. You have to go through perseverance. Ammi Israel, for the first 20 chapters in Shmo, they have to go through a lot of perseverance, a lot of trials. Look at how much trials Ammi Israel have to go in his history to return to this land. What I'm telling you today, in each one of those steps, there are going to be trials for you. So don't give up so easily. When the donkey is roaring, first tame the donkey, then fill your vessel, and then the third thing, you will be able to overcome the donkey through Mashiach Tzidkenu. And that's why we need Mashiach. Because we can fill ourselves with everything, either our vessel metukan, we still need to go somebody before us that will be able to come forward and overcome the donkey. So I say this to you: if you are challenged, if you are challenged with things, and you overcome them, sometimes you don't overcome them, it's okay. Baruch Hashem, when you have victories, rejoice. That means you are becoming a metukan. As long as you don't have the same challenges, you have a different challenges, it's a good thing. It means that you went through some level of the tikkun, and the world right now is in a state, according to the Lashon of Chazal, that we call Lashon shel berurim, that we are still preparing these vessels. They're still getting this vessel ready so that Israel will be saved. Are you following what I'm telling you? This is a process that not just you individually need to go through. Israel corporately have to go through. We have to go through it corporately. You know, that's why the very next verse in the Torah, it says, "V'amart al paro כה אמר Hashem, bni bechori Israel," my firstborn Israel. The very next verse in that portion. And we see this, Rabbi Natan says, Rabbi Natan says, "K'mo she'asiti Yaakov bechor," just as I make the Jewish people bechor, I will make Melech Mashiach bechor. I will make Mashiach bechor. Mashiach have to go through this. Think about this. Even Yeshua, in his own humanity. When he stood and it says that his sweat has been turned into blood, like blood, and he held the cup. He said there's no other way, and he have to go through this same principle. Mashiach himself, in submitting to Hashem, he have to go through Achna'ah, he have to go through Bitul. Okay? Yeshua had to do this. He have to overcome the goof, and he overcame the goof. That's why he went to the Tzlav. And he does those things in such a way that the Kedusha will be passed from him now to everybody who rely upon him as his rabbi. We can overcome those things. Yes, you can overcome the goof. And that's even a process Mashiach have to go through, Israel have to go through, and you and I, anybody who want to ride upon the donkey. So my word for you for Erev Shabbat is this: don't let the donkey rule you. You rule the donkey. Step number 1, make sure that you put the Achna'ah and the Bitul upon the donkey in your personal life. Number 2, make sure that whatever is fed into you is filled with mitzvot and Torah. And step number 3, rely upon Mashiach Tzidkenu to fill in the gap and fight this extra battle for you. And through this, not only your salvation is assured, but the salvation of the house of Israel and the revelation of the house of Israel will be complete. And in this, all Israel, Kol Israel Ivasha. Amen. Amen. Ken Yehi Ratzon. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this study with me. Just a brief thoughts from the Torah portion this week from Exodus 4:20. This is going to be again available for you also on YouTube. Check us out. And come on, it's time to overcome this donkey. Wishing you all Shabbat Shalom. Litraot.